Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a fun one. It is more brass, and no, we're actually not making this piece. It has already been made by a water jet, but we've got to modify it. And guess what? It's going to take longer to make the fixture than it is to actually do the job. Let's get to it. All right, here's the brass that was given to me. We actually had 3 of these to do. They're just 360 brass that's been cut on a water jet. Here was the drawing. 16th off of each side is what we've got to take off, but not all the way down, only parts of it. So here we found us a piece of stock to be able to make our fixture with. Get it in the mill, get it all set up. Here we are touching the tool off. We got to make sure we get that height right. That way we got the depth properly, and making sure we don't crash this tool because that gets expensive. Get the program going. And let's go. So here I'm actually using a 1/4" end mill, and I'm just going through and pocketing out this aluminum to the shape of the actual part for it to sit down in there. I'm coming back and I'm adding 2 holes, one on each side, to be able to clamp this thing down. Now normally I would tap in this machine, but seeing as my machine is tore up right now, it can't tap. So you're gonna see me drill everything with the machine. I'm gonna come back and tap it by hand with a 1/4 Both holes are gonna get tapped out to that. But oh, look at there. Piece fits nice and snug like we want it. So we got the tap handle going. Man, I tell you, if the machine was up and running properly, I'd been done with that in 2 seconds. So here we're making our plate that's actually gonna clamp down on it. Now all I'm doing is taking and putting 2 holes in it that are going to through bolt through that into the block we just made, and it's going to clamp down onto that piece that we've got to machine. Now I'm not doing this in the CNC, didn't need to be for what we're doing. All right, folks, we got our fixture made, and our piece just sits right down in there very nicely, as you can tell. Now we have this little locking plate that we made that sits over this, and it just gets screwed down. All right, here we go. We're just going to tighten this down. You got to be real careful here not to over tighten it too much, because you can pull that plate one side or the other. All right, now take a look. We have this locked in, ready to go. We're having to clamp back here because we are basically milling this entire face off here, a 1/16 of an inch down. We're gonna do one side, flip it over to the other. Really doesn't take long. Literally took longer to make that than it did to do what we're about to do, to take the fixture. All right, here we are touching the tool back off. We've got to now change the height to where the brass is actually at, because that's gonna be our 0 point at this point. So this one, when you get the red light, that means you're 2 inches above the part. So when I actually go and set the machine up, I tell it I have a 2-inch offset, so as soon as I hit the enter, it sends it back home at 0. Now normally I would run this a lot faster on brass, but seeing as I'm not being able to hold it very well, I'm only running 30 inches a minute. You'll also see that I kind of got a little big on the actual perimeter of it. It doesn't really matter. I know I'm cutting air at some point. I could easily trim that down, but for what I was doing and for this job, it made sense for me to make a big square, or rectangle in this case, with the radius on the end, and be done with it. So I do make a little bit of passes here that it's in the air, but it doesn't really hurt anything. Brass machines so well, but when you're dealing with only holding on that little bit, you got to be really careful. And there we go, we're done with half. Now we got to do the other half. So blow this thing off real good. Undo our bolts, not all the way, just part of the way. Flip the piece around, run the exact same program again. You see I'm feeding down. I'm only doing about 5, I think I'm doing 5 inches a minute feeding down into the part. And then I'm running 30 inches once it gets down and is moving in XY only. It's still moving relatively quick, but definitely not as fast as I normally would. Like I said, you're not holding on much and you're holding all on one end. So you just gotta be really careful because you can easily snatch it up. The last thing I want to do is tear this thing up. You know, I think these are a couple spares, but it's the customer supplied and I really don't want to mess these pieces up and have to tell them, hey, I need a couple more. So being cautious. Here's that air that I'm talking about we're cutting. It's, you know, yeah, I could have trimmed it down a little bit more, but hey, it does the trick. So there's the finished product. I didn't have much to hold on to, as you can see from that picture there. The part that's not shiny, that's all I had to work with, but we got it done. Relatively easy, simple, and on to the next thing. We'll see you next time.